Right now at 9, a local ministry takes it to the streets in Joplin to give back to the community. Plus, detectives in Henderson County, Pennsylvania are investigating after a 3-year-old is shot. Also, Russian negotiators are set to meet with American diplomats next year as some Russian troops begin to withdraw from the Ukrainian border. And a company in Oklahoma is stepping up after a community in Iowa lost their storm siren in a recent tornado.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Chris Warner. A local ministry came together to give back to the Joplin community this afternoon. The Take It to the Streets ministry did exactly that at the Route 66 Food Park on West 7th Street in Joplin. They provided food as well as a gift for each person and some hygiene products. They also were able to provide some blankets.
I decided I wanted to give back to my community. You know what I mean? Because this is where I started. I grew up on these streets. I was homeless on these streets, and I know how it feels, you know what I mean? So we started a ministry called Take It to the Streets, where I go out once a week, I feed the homeless, I sit there, and if they call me or they need something, they need food or they need clothes, showers, anything.
Officials are always looking for donations and volunteers. If you're interested, you can reach out to them on Facebook. It has been yet another warm day in the 4 states, but maybe some changes. Nick Kelly.
Yeah, we definitely got better changes on the way, Chris. Better if you're not a fan of mild temperatures at this point in the month of December. But we broke another record today. 75 degrees after we started at 42 this morning. The old record of 71 back in 2008, we had no problems breaking that. In fact, we did that once we got past the noon hour as it went throughout the course of the day. With a weak wave passing on through, we actually had maybe a few showers in our northern counties today. That was pretty much about it. I'm staying pretty quiet overall for this Sunday, but you can see how we got a southerly wind now and more westerly winds are picking up out west. That's because another front's on the way through tonight, and that is going to allow temperatures to drop up. But right now, we're still mainly in the mid to upper 60s. Going through the overnight, though, we are going to see some of the cloud cover clear out. Overnight lows dropping back near 50. And with another round of cloud covers ahead of our next system, we are going to see still temperatures topping out near 60. I've got thunderstorm chances to track on Tuesday, Chris, and big changes by the coming weekend. We'll break it all down here in a bit.
All right, Nick, thank you. An accidental shooting on Christmas Day has left a 3-year-old in North Carolina hospitalized. Henderson County deputies say the toddler gained access to a gun and accidentally pulled the trigger. Child was airlifted to Mission Hospital and is still undergoing treatment. Detectives from Henderson County Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Unit are conducting an investigation. Russian negotiators are expected to meet with American diplomats early next year to discuss the growing tensions over security issues as some Russian troops along the Ukrainian border have been withdrawn. Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff reports.
A new report claims that more than 10,000 Russian troops have withdrawn from the Ukrainian border. That's according to Reuters, citing information shared by the Interfax news agency. Still, tens of thousands of additional troops remain in regions near Ukraine. Here's what Vice President Kamala Harris had to say.
We are having direct conversations with Russia. We are very clear that Russia should not invade the sovereignty of Ukraine, that we must stand up, and we are standing up for its territorial integrity.
For a month, over 150,000 Russian troops have been running drills near the Ukrainian border. It signaled to U.S. intelligence officials that Russia was gearing up for an attack. President Vladimir Putin denied this. Following a talk with President Biden earlier this month, Putin said today that he is weighing his options if the U.S. does not give in to demands of security guarantees alongside a commitment to halt NATO's expansion into Eastern Europe. Representatives from Russia, Europe, and the U.S. are set to continue discussions sometime next month in Geneva. But President Biden said he will give Putin no guarantees. Here's former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo weighing in on Sunday morning futures.
I think the actions you see him taking, the words you saw him say just today in Russia, are consistent with his belief that we have weak leadership, we have the absence of resolve, and so he's going to push us as far as he can.
The vice president did add that if Russia invades Ukraine, they risk sanctions unlike anything experienced before. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
Rudd, Iowa's tornado siren was badly damaged by a devastating EF1 tornado that rolled through the town last week. Now, as Alex Juergens reports, an Oklahoma company wants to donate a new siren to the town.
That siren was destroyed during last week's tornado. Ryan Dean and Logan Schultz are with Joe Goddard Enterprises, a company which specializes in sirens and warning detection systems. They turn their love of weather and sirens into a career.
We've seen this devastation in real life in its full form.
The company heard about how Hicks courageously operated that siren as the tornado bore down on Rudd. They want to donate a refurbished modern siren, one that runs on battery power and has remote activation so first responders can stay safe. They've done work in other communities, bringing 50-year-old sirens up to modern standards.
Instead of spending, $25,000 on an entire new siren, they can just put a new radio on it and be able to keep on going with, something that's been reliable for its whole life.
Since they are based in Oklahoma, they know the importance of having a good tornado warning system. Schultz says the siren is just one method in a multi-layered approach to keeping people safe during storms.
We just felt that, we could do something to help someone else, and that's what we wanted to do.
Now, if approved, the new siren will be installed this spring. And we take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Specialist David Breckenkamp served in the Army during Vietnam with the 9th Infantry, his hometown, Erie. And we're proud to recognize Specialist David Breckenkamp, tonight's four-state hero. Well, meteorologist Nick Kelly is up next with the forecast for the week ahead, and we're taking a look at much colder conditions out west.
We kept things pretty quiet throughout the course of our Sunday as we wrap up the holiday weekend, but still leave it to Mother Nature to completely ignore the calendar and give us another mild record-breaking day to wrap up the holiday weekend this time around. At least we're still looking quiet from indigo sky outside of Seneca, Missouri. But have a look at the numbers just over the past few days alone. Christmas Day, we had those midnight highs around 70. We dropped into the lower 50s, and at least afternoon temperatures made a jump back into the mid-60s. But we dropped back into the mid-40s this morning. Went into the mid-70s this afternoon. That again breaks yet another record, especially that 71 today, actually set back in 2008. So 13 years ago, we're just seeing these records fly, but we have been able to keep these pretty quiet overall. Certainly to start this morning out, and with the quick warm front lifting through, it did bring in just enough moisture for maybe a few showers in our northern counties. That's about it. All those slight rain chances are gone now. In fact, we're going to get a break in the cloud covers to go through the night, but I have some more systems I'm tracking in the days ahead. For the time being, 7th range line not looking too bad. 66 and dropping the south wind at 22. I want to mention the gusts are back up there as well. We'll have a look at those numbers in the next half hour, see how the gusts look. But that good south wind keeping everybody pretty much in the mid 60s right now. And again, it's all because of that south wind back in action. Thankfully not as windy as it was on Christmas Eve, but still a south wind at 10 to 25 miles per hour. Gusts trying to push higher than that. But look at how the wind turns more out of the west as you work across central and western Kansas. There's a good reason for that. As we broaden out the map in the Skywatch Storm Tracker, certainly looks a lot calmer now. Any slight rain chances again that we had pretty much gravitated across central and eastern parts of Missouri. This is why we're seeing a westerly wind out west. We got another cold front on the way through, not particularly strong, but it will send us back near 60 for tomorrow, so it will have a bit of a punch to it. Now we're seeing one upper wave getting some snow in parts of the upper Midwest and the northern plains, and we got some more upper level waves to watch out west in the days to come. In the short term though, mostly cloudy skies we have out there right now, and again, disregard any slight rain chances that the future track's showing. I don't see any rain chances trying to pop up as we go through the overnight, but I think we will see some clearing as temperatures eventually drop back near 50 and drop it. But you can see we have a range from about 41 in Yates Center to the mid-50s down in Bentonville. So definitely a cool start to the morning ahead, but despite increasing clouds yet again on your Monday, we are going to see another kind of mild day. 50 in the morning, 55 by noon, highs near 60 degrees. Let's actually fast forward to the jet stream setup here because we've got another system out west that wants to give us our next best shot for rain and storms on Tuesday, mainly during the morning hours. Then I think we'll be dry for the rest of Tuesday afternoon. Looking okay for Wednesday and Thursday, But what about to ring in 2022? New Year's Eve, we keep things dry, but here comes Saturday on the bigger system. Thunderstorm chances likely on Saturday, and then depending on how fast the temperatures can plunge on the backside of this system, we could have that system end as rain and even snow by Sunday morning, and then it's going to really feel like January come next Sunday. 60 tomorrow, 67 Tuesday, we'll say 53 for Wednesday and Thursday, mild to 62 for New Year's Eve, 63 New Year's Day, and then dropping throughout that afternoon. And how about 16 Sunday morning and 27 for Sunday afternoon?
How about not? Can we just not do that?
Well, I mean, it's been too mild, so the numbers have to be crashing down at some point.
That's true, and they are going to crash. Nick, thank you so much. Well, major winter storm has brought snow, ice, and high wind to Washoe County, Nevada. Truckee Fire and Washoe County Sheriff reported a 20-car pileup Sunday morning on southbound 395 in the Washoe Valley. 395 was closed down to traffic. Drivers and officials are reporting whiteout conditions and at least 50-mile-an-hour winds. Truckee Fire and Rescue report at least 6 patients have been transported to hospitals, and uninjured drivers were taken to Truckee Fire Station for shelter. Emergency officials are working on plans to get folks home. Well, still ahead, condolences from around the world are coming in following the death of Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
Your favorite.
Condolences are being sent from around the world after South Africa's president announced Nobel Peace Prize winning activist Desmond Tutu has died. Fox News correspondent Amy Kellogg has the story.
Ladies and gentlemen, Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
His was a life of public service dedicated to bringing peace and justice to South Africa, the land he called the Rainbow Nation. It wasn't just the things he said, it was how he said them. Bishop Desmond Tutu grew up under the system of apartheid, he said, took away people's human dignity and trampled it underfoot. Tutu, born in 1931, wanted to become a doctor, but his parents couldn't afford medical school tuition. Instead, he went into teaching. But in 1957, the South African government announced plans to significantly downgrade the education offered to blacks, and Tutu resigned. Newly married and jobless, he felt the pull of the church at this time of trouble in his country. His mentor was a white priest, Father Trevor Huddleston, who had displayed kindness to the family years earlier when Tutu's father taught at a missionary school. Desmond Tutu became an Anglican priest in South Africa, then continued his studies in England. That's where he said he gained the confidence to openly disagree with white people. Back in South Africa, he rose through the ranks of the Anglican Church, eventually becoming the first black bishop of Johannesburg before becoming Archbishop of Cape Town. Bishop Tutu always preached peaceful resistance to apartheid and was instrumental many times in staving off violent confrontation. But he wasn't always successful. Just prior to the bloody Soweto riots in 1976, he warned the government that tension was building to dangerous levels, but his letter was dismissed as an activist ploy. 600 people died in the confrontation. Tutu rose to international fame by taking very public issue with apartheid practices, including the forced movement of blacks from urban areas to government-designated homelands, far from their jobs. He also encouraged governments around the world to impose economic sanctions on South Africa to pressure it to end apartheid. Tutu risked arrest by his activity, but somehow managed to escape it and continued his political activity through the church around the world. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984. When President F.W. de Klerk abolished apartheid in the early 90s and Nelson Mandela became president, Tutu was appointed as head of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which brought together victims and perpetrators of the apartheid system. The public sharing of their experiences was seen as a national, official way to heal South Africa and forgive past sins. It was widely credited with saving South Africa from falling into further violence. But it was an intensely emotional, trying process, and it was shortly thereafter that Tutu became ill with prostate cancer. He withdrew for the most part from public life as he battled this disease, but remained until his death a man of immense moral authority the world over. Amy Kellogg, Fox News.
Coming up, a U.S. naval vessel is grounded in Cuba due to an outbreak of the coronavirus. Plus, Florida tops its daily record for coronavirus cases for the second day in a row.
Pivoting. Import warehouse.
A U.S. naval vessel is grounded in Cuba due to an outbreak of the coronavirus. The USS Milwaukee has been forced to remain in a Cuban port just 1 week into its deployment. The Milwaukee arrived there on December 20th. The Milwaukee's 105-person crew is now in isolation in Guantanamo Bay. Number of sailors infected wasn't released, but the entire crew is 100% immunized. It's not known how long the Milwaukee will be out of service. The Milwaukee is a Freedom-class littoral combat ship. Florida has topped its record for coronavirus cases the second day in a row. New CDC data shows Florida hitting a record 32,850 cases in a single day on Christmas Day. That tops Florida's previous record set just a day earlier. On Christmas Eve, when Florida charted 31,758 coronavirus cases. The increases were driven by the spread of the Omicron variant. Florida's weekly cases were up almost 14%. Officials are watching for signs of hospitals possibly filling through the end of the holidays. Jacksonville residents, though, are going to go forward with Christmas celebrations, or they did, rather, as a COVID surge continued in the state. Fox's Ben Ryan has more.
Christmas is here.
Merry Christmas!
But the last thing people wanted this holiday season was another surge of COVID-19 cases, says Cree Baker.
We want to try to help stop the spread of COVID.
Most of the United States is seeing a surge in cases due to the Omicron variant. According to CDC data, Florida broke the state record 2 days in a row for daily cases with nearly 33,000 alone on Christmas Eve. As plenty enjoyed the outdoors of Jacksonville Beach, the recent spike is something that is beginning to worry Baker.
I'm a little concerned, but not too stressful. You gotta live your life.
Florida reported Friday more than 125,000 new cases in the past week. And as families gathered for the holidays, the Duval County Department of Health encouraged people to mask up and vaccinate. But the overall surge isn't concerning others like Jen Taylor.
I'm okay with it. You know, we're outside. I'm not walking up into anybody's faces.
Early data leads experts to believe that Omicron is 2 to 3 times as contagious as the Delta variant. And while some like Gary Moore say they still follow safety guidelines, he believes it's not a time to overreact.
You can't let every situation that transpires in life, prevent you from enjoying yourself.
That was Fox's Ben Ryan reporting. Still ahead, we'll tell you how one activity you did yesterday could have added a few gray hairs.
Play for your chance to win.
Are you feeling older after Christmas? There's one activity that may have given you a few more gray hairs. It's more blessed to give than receive, and it's more cursed to open when you receive Christmas gifts. A British survey says the average person spends 30 minutes opening gifts. Packaging is a culprit, from vacuum sealed to wrapping, tape, screws, and more. And it's not just Christmas either. The typical adult spends 19 minutes each week opening stuff and 43 days over a lifetime. And package rage ruins 1/4 of all products during opening. I had my youngest couldn't wait to get a PT Cruiser car unscrewed, and he ended up just ripping the car off of its base, and we had to throw it out. So, I mean, that's what happens. Package rage is a thing. We got 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Coming up in our next half hour, more flights are canceled this holiday weekend as the Omicron variant is blamed for staff shortages. Plus, despite flight cancellations, U.S. air travel hit a surge. We'll tell you how it compared to pre-pandemic levels. Also, Ohio doctors were able to successfully remove a tumor off of an unborn baby's heart. And we have more details after a Christmas Day fire claims the life of a father and 2 of his children.
This right here is
The flight tracking website FlightAware says nearly 900 flights were canceled on Christmas Day due to staffing issues tied to surging COVID-19 cases. That's up from almost 700 on Christmas Eve. And so far, more than 600 flights entering, leaving, or inside the U.S. are already canceled for today. AAA has estimated 6.5 million Americans will be flying this holiday season. Despite that, U.S. air travel saw a surge Christmas Day, but it did not reach pre-pandemic levels. Transportation Security Administration reported that more than 1.5 million people were screened at airport checkpoints on Saturday. That's higher than the 1.1 million people the agency says it screened on Saturday of Christmas week last year. However, it's well below the nearly 2.5 million people that were screened in 2019. This year, the TSA says it screened more than 2 million people at airports across the country on Thursday, December the 23rd, which was the high mark of the week. But airlines have canceled thousands of flights going into the Christmas weekend, including over 1,000 U.S. domestic flights. Staff and crew, as we mentioned, are all calling out sick during the Omicron surge. Ohio doctors were able to successfully remove a tumor off an unborn baby's heart, and it's only the second time in medical history that fetal surgery has been done. Nadine Abusada reports.
A lot of people tell me he's definitely a miracle, that he's a gift from God and he's meant to do something crazy in this world.
Rylan Drennan is now 5 months old.
It's very surreal. It's very overwhelming.
But at 6 months in his mother Samantha's stomach, the odds were not in his favor.
Well, April, we found out that Rylan had a cardiac teratoma, which is a tumor growing on his heart.
His condition is one that doctors don't see often.
They're incredibly rare overall. They're only like 1 in 40,000 births. And then to have it in this heart location is way less common.
What's even rarer is the successful removal of that tumor. The procedure has only been done a few times worldwide and been successful just once.
The odds were absolutely against us, and we were confident that we had assembled the right team.
After discussing and weighing the options,
the fetus is dying, basically, has heart failure.
I need to do this? I guess.
Doctors and Samantha agreed surgery was the way to go.
May 7th, we had the fetal surgery.
It took 4 hours.
Dr. Najam did what he might do on a baby after birth. He did a cut toward the middle of the chest to open up the rib cage to expose this little baby's heart to help peel the tumor off of the heart. Pretty amazing stuff.
And it was a success.
Fortunately, little Rylan inside of the mom's womb and the mom both recovered beautifully.
For only the second time in history.
Some of the nurses that were in my room, they told me that they cried, and they still cry and get tears over it, just because, it was the craziest thing they've ever experienced, too.
After the removal, Rylan was put in his mother's stomach to bake for 10 weeks. Then he decided to come out early.
At 36 weeks and 3 days, he made his entrance into the world.
To a world that he's already impacted.
Pretty warm down here.
It's heartwarming. It's unbelievable.
And soon she'll tell him his heroic story.
One day he's going to ask, what is this crazy scar on my chest? And I'm going to tell him that you went through something crazy that no baby can really say they went through.
Wow. Ryland is healthy, but Samantha said they still go back for blood work and to make sure his heart is working correctly. Well, Christmas morning house fire claiming the lives of a father and his 2 children in a small town in Pennsylvania yesterday. Investigators say early findings suggest the fire started in the family's Christmas tree. Fox's Shayna Fiera has the story from Quakertown, Pennsylvania.
This is horrible. This is the worst. I couldn't imagine.
A day typically known to be filled with joy for one Quakertown family is just the opposite this holiday. A fatal, fast-moving fire claiming the life of 2 young boys and their father early Christmas morning. Jacob Kratz lives nearby and could not believe what happened, shocked by the damage left behind.
It was horrible hearing about it because we have 4 kids. I have 2 biological kids and 2 stepchildren. It's horrible to think about this on Christmas.
Fire investigators tell Fox 29 the blaze broke out just before 1:30 Saturday morning on Essex Court in Quakertown. Damaging flames and heavy smoke ripped through the 2-story home within an hour before it was finally under control, leaving only charred remains behind. Family toys and bikes seen on the ground behind the yellow tape. Officials say a mother and 1 other child made it out of the home alive but are now left with the reality of 3 lost lives. 2 little boys and their dad now gone on Christmas.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to them. We just lost a brother in our family about a month ago, but not like this, so this is horrible.
A horrible tragedy in the worst of times.
This is a tragedy in which they're going to obviously mourn. It's sad this didn't have to happen. It's a tragedy.
Later on the KOAM News at 9, Florida's threatened and protected manatees have died in record numbers this year.
We are back, and Chris and I couldn't help but notice before we immediately got back on the air, the live stream that we have outside of Seneca, Missouri, overlooking Indigo Sky. It's dancing around in that south breeze a little bit, but despite the wind back in action as we go throughout the course of the night, we're still looking quiet, not just outside of Seneca, Missouri, but all across the region. In fact, a good number of us stayed relatively quiet, even though we had our fair share of cloud cover back in action once again. But as a warm front lifted on through, it actually picked up just enough moisture for maybe a few showers as advertised in our far northern counties. That was about it. So we didn't get anything in terms of rain chances with this warm front that lifted on through. But looking at the final days of 2021 and toward New Year's, I'm not only watching a stronger storm system with thunderstorm and rain chances Tuesday, possibly in the Wednesday, but on New Year's Day, another system with thunderstorms to start on Saturday, and depending on how fast temperatures could drop, maybe ending in some wintry weather, and then early next week, ready to turn much colder, at least compared to all the mild record-breaking days that we've seen just over the holiday weekend alone. At least we're still looking quiet for 7th and range line right now. 66 and jump with the south wind at 22, but that's a sustained wind speed. We're still seeing gusts near 33 miles per hour. No wonder it's keeping temperatures up mainly in the mid 60s all across the entire area. Again, it's a breeze that managed to pick up a little bit. It was a little lighter earlier today, between 10 and 20 miles per hour. Now it's trying to push between 15 and 25 miles per hour. But as you look out to the west, you see a more westerly breeze taking shape across central and western parts of Kansas. And the good reason for that, because as you widen out the view, even though it doesn't look like a whole lot happening around here, there's a warm front that lifted through today, got us back to record-breaking warmth with highs around 75. There's the next cold front that will cool us down as we head toward Monday as we get this new work week underway. And in terms of the upper levels, we got one wave producing snow in the upper Midwest and northern plains, and some more upper lows that we're going to definitely keep a very close eye on as we go throughout the course of this coming week. In the short term, the mostly cloudy skies will actually try to break apart as we head towards sunrise. And even though the future track's trying to pop a few showers, I don't see that happening. So we're going to ignore that. We're going to keep things dry as we go throughout the course of the night. But behind that passing cold front, we'll have lows ranging from the lower 40s in the Kansas side to about near 50 as you work closer back to Joplin. But everybody will have cloud cover back in action tomorrow, and temperatures trying to push back near 60 degrees. So we'll start around 50 in the morning, 55 by noon, and a high near 60 degrees. I think that's the best we can do as far as temperatures being able to rebound after a chilly start in the morning. We look quiet to start Monday evening out, but here comes our next storm system. And you can see how it wants to ramp up rain and thunderstorm chances quickly as we go through the overnight on Monday and into Tuesday. That's because, again, this main storm system, that is going to give us the rain chances mainly Tuesday morning. Then I think we're dry for the rest of Tuesday afternoon. You see how we quickly look dry Wednesday and Thursday, and even on Friday for New Year's Eve. But there's a bigger system I want to keep a very close eye on, and I know Doug and Michael Hayslip will as well, because the early indications have this starting as rain and thunderstorm chances on Saturday with early afternoon highs around 63, then temperatures plummeting behind that system. Now, I could end on maybe some snow by Sunday morning, but look at these temperatures, Chris. 60s for tomorrow and Tuesday, mid-50s Wednesday and Thursday. We'll go from an early high of 63 on Saturday to a high of 27 for the first Sunday of 2022.
I don't know if plummeting is even an adequate enough word to describe that temperature drop. I mean, that's low. That's really low, very quickly,
Yeah,
too.
Compared to our record-breaking days, that's going to be a big shock to the
Just
system.
another day in the 4 states, though, right? Nick, thank you so much. Sports director Jacob Leonard's going to join us next with sports. And while the Chiefs went into tonight's game without some of their key starters, it didn't turn out so bad. He's got that highlights next.
Welcome back and welcome into the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. Now, this week, it's been a rough week for the Kansas City Chiefs with multiple players hitting the league's COVID list. Now, the Chiefs are without a few starters for today's game against the Steelers, including Pro Bowl tight end Travis Kelce. Now, the game goes on, though. Kansas City trying to lock up the AFC West and a playoff spot against Pittsburgh. First quarter, look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Bounces off a tackle and scores. Chiefs with the early 7-0 lead. Now, later in the first, Pittsburgh looking for the flea flicker. Instead, Ben Roethlisberger throws it to Charvarius Ward. He plays for the Chiefs. Good field position for Kansas City off the turnover, and they would take advantage. Patrick Mahomes to K-State product Byron Pringle. 5-yard score. It's now 14-0. But Kansas City added plenty more after that. In the second, this touchdown goes to McCole Hardman, 8 yards away. Chiefs go to half up 23-0. Then in the second half, Mahomes to Pringle again, his second score of the game. It was all Kansas City, man. Chiefs win 36-10, claim their 6th consecutive AFC West title.
Offensively, defensively, and special teams were all clicking. The coordinators, the coaches, the players were phenomenal. And that's the way they were all week. They came in with great energy and just played their tail off. I mean, Pat again having a good day, the defensive line having a great day, the secondary, the linebacker. I mean, everybody kind of put it together and did great.
So the Chiefs are in the playoffs, and they've won the AFC West. All that's left now is to lock up the number 1 seed and home field advantage in the AFC playoffs. Right now, they're a game up on the Tennessee Titans, who won on Thursday night. 2 games up on Cincinnati and Buffalo. The Bengals beat the Ravens today. The Bills top the Patriots. Check it out. Huge one next week with the Chiefs hitting the road to face Cincinnati. Out tight end Mark Andrews has been on fire the last few weeks for the Baltimore Ravens. Today against Cincinnati, he racked up 8 catches for 125 yards and this 18-yard touchdown from Josh Johnson. The Bengals won the game, but for Andrews, it's his 3rd straight 100-yard game. Now, this is what he's done the last 3 weeks. Had 125 and a score today. Last week, Andrews posted 10 catches for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. And before that, against Cleveland, 11 for 115 and another score. So if you put it all together, last 3 weeks, 376 yards and 4 touchdowns for the former Sooner. Andrews was an All-American for Oklahoma in 2017 and earned his 2nd NFL Pro Bowl selection earlier this week. We are right in the middle of college football bowl season. We've already seen Tulsa and Mizzou play in bowl games, but we have a few more regional teams in action in the next week. Now, in 3 days, Oklahoma will face Oregon in a top 20 battle in the Alamo Bowl. That's Wednesday night. On January 1st, both Arkansas and Oklahoma State play in early bowl games. Then a few days later, on January 4th, Kansas State Wildcats finish up their season facing LSU in the Texas Bowl in Houston. Well, Joplin MMA fighter TJ Britton has a big opportunity ahead of him. Britton will fight at FAC 12 in Kansas City on February 6th, with UFC President Dana White in attendance. Now, Britton is 7-2 in his pro MMA career. He'll be facing Isaac Dolgarian, who is 4-0. That fight will be the co-main event. Now, Dana White will be there as part of his show, Dana White Looking for a Fight. So, I mean, if someone's impressive in front of him in February, you never know, it may end up on a UFC fight card.
Get an opportunity to fight in front of Dana White, UFC is one of the biggest. It is the biggest organization for cage fighting, and so if you're a cage fighter, it's probably on your dream list to do. And so I've been able to fight in front of him on his television show, and for him to personally want to watch it was pretty big accomplishment. So I'm ready to go in and have some fun, show him what I can do. I believe I belong there, and I've always said that. I have a lot of people say that, and so we get the opportunity to see what happens, what shakes out.
We'll have our full story with Britton on KOAM News at 6 tomorrow night. That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Your favorite song?
Florida's threatened and protected manatees have died in record numbers this year, leading to an unprecedented, never-before-tried rescue plan. Fox News correspondent Phil Keating has the details from Florida.
As gentle and cute as manatees are, they are dying. A record number this year, more than 1,000. The mass die-off all boils down to pollution from every source you can think of. Fertilizer runoff from farms and lawns, leaking sewage, and industrial pollution, which makes its way into Florida's watershed, creating toxic algae blooms, which not only kills tons of marine life, but also clouds out sunlight, killing off tens of thousands of acres of seagrass, the main diet of the big mammals. And that has resulted in this: manatee carcasses on the shoreline. For the first time, starvation, rather than boat propellers, accounts for most of the manatee fatalities.
If the seagrass isn't as abundant as it was, then they have to go a longer distance to try to find food. That takes calories, it takes energy, and it puts a strain on the manatee.
Most of the 1,000 plus manatee deaths this year have happened in and along the Indian River. So for the first time, wildlife officials have come up with a new plan on how to help try to save the manatee. Feeding them lettuce and cabbage. Florida's manatee population is estimated to be around 7,000, having rebounded several years ago from the endangered species list. They're now listed as threatened, so they are still protected.
174 Exiliger.
But there is help. Florida Wildlife and SeaWorld rescue and rehabilitate manatees, more than 50 this year, like this mom and her calf.
A little bit more, guys. A little more.
The big sea cows are fed, tagged, and released back into the wild.
They're a big part of Florida down here. Everybody knows who they are. They're another species that we're trying to help and make sure that this population doesn't, go down the tank here in the next 10 years or so.
Florida's Save the Manatee Club warns regular people not to feed them yourselves. That's against the law and can make manatees less fearful of humans and boats. Along the Indian River in Stuart, Florida, Phil Keating, Fox News.
Next, why Santa isn't the only jolly fellow in Japan bringing some Christmas cheer. In Japan, Christmas followers give another jolly guy lots of salutes for their Christmas dinners. Colonel Sanders ranks right up there with Santa Claus, while Kentucky Fried Chicken lovers piled into KFC by Christmas Eve for their traditional KFC Christmas chicken dinners. These Japanese ads show what KFC fans are ho-ho-hoing about. Tradition theory goes to the early 70s in Japan when turkeys couldn't be had, and KFC began a Kentucky for Christmas ad campaign. Well, a KFC delivery guy came to schools dressed as Santa. That is something that does not happen around here. I do not remember ever seeing Colonel Sanders come to the school and deliver gifts. Sean, Nick, did you guys ever have Colonel Sanders bring any gifts? They're saying no chicken gifts. Would you like some chicken gifts? No again. Okay, no on the chicken. Sean wants some chicken gifts. Okay. All right, well, that is our time for now, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you back here next weekend, and thanks for making us part of your night.